Yo, what's up, my people? This is your homeboy, Mr. Remy Mohan, and today I'm bringing you guys something real special, something exclusive from Beyond the Mic and Out of the Board podcast collaboration live in Accra, Ghana. And we have a special guest from the US. But before we even dive into the introduction of our guest, I will allow my co-host to introduce himself, then we get started with the show.
Gabriel Ishmael Out of the Box podcast. We have a tradition. We prefer our guests to introduce themselves because when they introduce themselves, they give you details of what they want to say. Welcome.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Hello, world. My name is Dr. Angela Harris. I am here, as I said, born in the United States. I tell people that I'm from heaven and I'm very African. I'm the founder of the Emerge Us Conference, the Rebirth of the Black Nation, also the Black Kings and Queens Worldwide. I'm also the executive producer and founder of the Black I Am International Awards. And this is our ninth year honoring humanitarians and philanthropists that have made sure that they gave to the least of them. So that's who I am. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Wow.
Awesome. We are glad to have you on our show, man. How does it feel being in Africa, precisely Accra, Ghana?
Well, to answer that question would be kind of weird for me because I feel more at home here
Okay.
than I do in the United States of America. So being in Accra, because I do travel around Africa, Nigeria is like my second home.
Right.
Ghana is becoming that now, but because I've been here more this year than I've been anywhere. It's very amazing. Ghana is Ghana. The only thing about Ghana that I'm questioning right now is the value of that they put on America, even in the currency of America. What I witness in Ghana is that they operate off of U.S. dollars, but their economy is still operating off of CDs, which does not make it favorable for those who live here.
Right. So, guys, today we are discussing Africa. Our guest here is in Ghana for the Emerge Us conference. So, basically, everything we are going to be discussing here today is going to be strictly about Africa. How can we emerge Africa to become one? We have been preaching this message to our people, telling them we want to have one Africa, one currency, and one language that we all speak. So today we're going to basically discuss everything about Africa. So we go to our first question, man. So you be an African who grew up in the U.S. and you have seen some of the challenges that we Africans face. What does like the emerge us Africa means to you?
I don't know if you're ready for the answer to that, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Emerge us from the point of view and the lenses of my eyes and my heart means something totally different than what we've seen over the years of Africa.
Okay.
The first thing that I want to say is that Africa could never be a third world. It's really the first world because it's the first account of life.
Right.
So, emerging the intelligence of what was before versus what has been fed to us is one of the main things. And you have to do that through spirituality,
Right.
by having a relationship with the one that gives you life every day, understanding that before you were even born, there was something that you were predestined to do. And if you're not doing that portion of your life, then you're not even living, you're just existing.
Right.
That's the first thing. As you tap into who you are, then you tap into the economic value of what Africa is.
Right.
If Africa is the first account of life, then how dare Africa accept being a third world country or continent? It makes no sense. Africa is the first of everything. The resources in Africa runs its whole entire world. But what has happened is Africa has allowed themselves to be prostituted.
Right.
I said earlier today to someone else, wherever there's a fake, there's an original.
Right.
Africa is the original. Africa is the original because it started life. The mother nature, everything that we can think of, it started right here in Africa. But over time, because of the prostituted mentality that was fed to us, that we adopted, first of all, by enslaving one another, let's get to the truth.
Right.
See, a lot of people don't want the truth. What I understand is if you know the truth, then the truth shall set you free. A lot of people don't understand that Africa has been the catalyst
Mm.
of not being as powerful, being very powerful in the ability, but operating powerless.
Right.
The reason why I say that is because Africa allows for people to come from the outside to take what needs to be manifested on the inside of Africa.
That's deep.
If Africa allows Africa to be Africa, then they take back what was stolen and they make those on the outside need what's here, the natural resources, the gold, the oil, the precious stones. I mean, all of the things that Africa, the land. There's no land in this world that's like the African land.
Right.
But over time, Africa has lost its mental value. So it calculates into the spiritual value, it calculates into economic value, and now you see Africa struggling to even be great. We got to make Africa great again.
Right. Right. Mr. Ishmael.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. After the triumphant success of the civil rights movement and the demise of Martin Luther King Jr., I was shocked when I saw Obama was elected and Reverend Jesse Jackson was shedding tears of joy. We had an African in the White House, but nothing has changed. Why? For the African.
First of all, my focus is not the White House. The White House is one of those fakes when there's an original. Africa is the Black House. And the Black House not meaning of color. Black, anytime that I announce it, means beautiful, living, ancestor controlling kingdom.
Okay.
So Africa is the heart of it all. When you start talking about politics of the United States, you might not want to have me on your show because there's going to be a lot of controversy regarding it because I'm going to say what I want to say,
Okay.
how I want to say it, and when I want to say it.
Okay.
When it comes to Obama, first of all, that was a puppet. There's a lot of things that has happened in the American system that makes things appear as if it's real, but it's really a lot of fake stuff. If you really look at right now what's going on, even in the entertainment world, you will see that all of these things, where good is, evil is always present, right? Okay. And there's a lot of spiritual wickedness in high places. High places in America is gun, oil, and drugs. That's their God. Guns, oil, and drugs. G-O-D, God, for America. So when you have that and you mix that in the entertainment industry, then you have all the perversion and stuff that goes along with it. Tell me where America is the land of the free. When you talk about civil rights movement, I don't think you know who you're sitting here with. I'm the first woman president of Dr. Martin Luther King's organization ever,
Okay.
of the SCLC. I was the first woman president of a lot of different movements in America, the United Coalition for Humanities. And I also am one of those people who went on the back end to write about what our problem is. When we talk about the civil rights movement, that's our problem. We shall overcome when. See, the problem is that there's a lot of people, and we've been marching and marching and marching, but nothing has changed. Why? Because the mentality has not changed. And see, connecting that mentality with Africa's mentality is why we are, as a people, the way that we are, so divided and separated.
Wow.
wow.
So we shall overcome someday, but we're still allowing people to take advantage of us, to take control of us, to draw us against each other instead of collaborating us as one.
That's one thing.
Bob Marley said one love, right? When is there really going to be one love? And what is that love? How can you love your brother or your sister when you don't even know to love you? Your inner man has to be the first trigger of change. And when you have a lot of people that are clueless to that, then you have the same thing going around like a 360. One thing about 360 is that it starts at a place and it ends at the same place. We have to get to a point of doing a 180 turn.
Right.
180, you start one place, you end up in another place, and you're going to your destination. So America, when we talk about America, we have to understand that a lot of Africans have this vision, this false vision of that being the land of the free. No, what America has done is it has stolen all of the values of Africa, made Africa feel that Africa was not it, and Africans adopted it.
Right.
The people on the outside of Africa know the value of Africa more than the people on the inside. That's why we come here, to make Africa great again. We have to emerge us spiritually, intellectually, which brings us into economics.
Right.
Economics is making the economy great again.
Right.
We don't have to work that hard to do that in Africa because all of the resources are here. But you have to have the mentality and people willing to work together to get it done.
Right. So
Yes.
speaking of the mentality, there are a lot of misconceptions about when you, like you mentioned earlier, when you leave Africa, that's when you get to know the beauty or the value of what you have. So I've met a lot of guys from the Western world. It's like the perception or the concept we usually have of Africa. When you mention Africa, they talk about the bushes, they talk about people sleeping on the trees, the animals and all of that, like poverty going on and all of that. So what are some of the biggest misconception you have heard about Africa or you have encountered as an African living in the US?
Well, let me say this. Everything that you just named is also in the US. There's people sleeping in the bushes, there's people sleeping on the freeways, there's homeless people, there's people that's hungry. But the difference is America has the ability to do something more about it.
Right.
But you can go to a mayor's step and they're stepping over people as they're going to work. But they're getting all of this money and they have all of these resources to make a difference, but they don't do it. Then when you come to Africa, that same concept is here. This is what I mean by wherever there's a fake, there's an original. And this is what I mean by Africa has adopted this slaves mentality. See, we were never designed to be in slavery here.
Yeah.
This here gives us the ability to conquer anything.
Right.
But this here has to be the action in conquering everything. So when I first came to Africa, I didn't know what to expect because of all of the things that are on TV. But when I crossed the borders, my first smell was I'm at home. My first scent was I'm at home. So for me coming from America, where they say is the land of the free, to come to Africa to feel more at home here than I've ever felt in America. Why is it that Africans want to chase this American dream instead of being in the African supreme? Africa is the supreme being. The first account of life was here. How can anything else be greater than that?
Yes, but actually, you see, when we now try to streamline our thoughts and face reality, according to the few PHEW global statistic, among the 28 most poorest country in the world, Africa has 25. So how can we decipher this reality?
Who says so?
The international statistics.
Who says so? The international statistics is what? The news.
Yeah.
This is the picture that's being painted, but that doesn't make it true. The truth is, know the resources. Every resource that's here in Africa is needed everywhere else. If you look at that truth and you know that I'm telling the truth, all you have to do is look at China, look at America. See, the song that we got to make Africa great again. It says we cannot depend on the European guys. We cannot depend on the Chinese guys. We can't depend on the American guys. It's up to you and I and I. We got to make Africa great again. Africa has the resources to be the wealthiest and the most wealthiest people in the world lives right here in Africa. But the picture that has been painted and then the economic greed, that's what I want to call it. The political and economic greed that has taken place. See, they adopted that from America. The truth is, from the very beginning, we were our own problem. If you go back in history and see where slavery didn't start with the white man. It started with us enslaving one another for greed. And if we don't understand that portion of it, then we'll never get to the next level of what we can do to diminish that, to destroy that, and to start it all over again. Now it's time for the rebirth of the Black nation. The rebirth of the Black nation is simply this. It is an action plan. It is an agenda to rebirth everything that's already been ours from the beginning.
Yeah, speaking about rebirth and some of the challenges, like I just want to say, drop a little comment when it comes to that. Like, I'm from Liberia originally. I'm a Liberian. So we are approximately 6 million people and we have all of the resources. So this is a country where, like, if the government, I'm mentioning it based on the fact that you mentioned greed or people not wanting to, you know, allow other people to eat while they also eat as well. So if our own government will allow the resources being distributed like equally or fairly to all of the citizens in the country, trust me, there will be no single Liberian that will go to bed on an empty stomach. But you know something, like, it's all about me, myself, and I mentality. It's not about, you know, me trying to become the boss and become oppressive to the common people. That's the mentality.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? He's also from Sierra. Yeah.
Contrary to all the narrative of that doctor has espoused almost the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The two last submission for two of you, that means African problem is Africa.
It's Africa.
Absolutely.
You get what I mean?
And let me say this.
Yeah.
Wherever there's a fake, there's an original. I want y'all to hold on to that, okay?
Yeah, sure.
A leader is a leader, whether they lead people to the dark or whether they lead people to the light. The problem is we have too many misleaders out here leading people to the dark for their own gain.
Right.
And that's what we call government. But remember, in the Quran, in the Torah, and in the Quran, the Torah, and in the Bible, it says that spiritual wickedness is in high places.
Right.
Government is the highest place of authority in this world, right? But it shouldn't be. And I'm going to tell you why. If the people step up without fear, fear is false evidence appearing real. If the people step up, understanding that nobody is promised tomorrow. So sometimes you got to put yourself in position to be okay with knowing that you doing something may cause you to not be here tomorrow, but it can change the whole narrative for everybody else tomorrow.
Right.
We have to get to the point that we don't fear death, we don't fear people, we don't fear places, and we don't fear things. Another thing that has been messed up in Africa is that Africa, all of the things that's supposed to be good, because of the greed and the negative influence of it, they have turned it into witchery or into diabolical things that hurt people.
So what do you think have to change for African to emerge?
The heart of the people. You have to know that you have an accountability that you were predestined for before you were even born.
Right.
And in that accountability is a piece of the puzzle to bring us together again. When people get to the point of understanding that every day that we wake up, we can't wake ourselves up. So there's something that's higher than us that we have to submit to. That submission brings change.
All right. So in short, like you're trying to say, we should be a responsible citizens and then hold ourselves responsible for our own action by, eradicating the way we think, the way we perceive things for our fellow Africans.
Yeah, Mohammed, that is why I always love to connect to the Jamaican late Liche.
Yeah.
He said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Absolutely.
None but ourselves can free our mind.
Can free our mind.
Let me say this. Listen to this. I got another nugget for you.
Yeah.
It's so many people out here that are so ignorant. And they're not ignorant because they have to be. They're ignorant because they choose to be. But I want to give this to everybody out there. While you're looking for all the books that's missing in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all of these things that people are saying, stop ignoring the number one book that you're accountable for. And that's the book of your life.
Yeah.
Every last one of us have a book called our life that we're accountable for.
Sure.
If you don't find yourself, know who you are, push for what you were already predestined to be,
Right.
then you don't live, you only exist. And if we were going to get biblical, you would be one of those people that said, Lord, Lord, I did this in your name. I did that in your name. He said, get away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you.
Right.
It's the gospel of
And the reason why is because how can I know somebody that I didn't create? When you start allowing for your faith to override your original, you also disconnect from the source of life.
Wow.
Hi, viewers, we are thanking her for pouring out. We even got more than we bargained for. So, Mohammed, what's your final question?
This is actually the conversation is really deep
Yeah.
and interesting. I think this is an eye opening, not just an eye opening, but it also enlightening the minds of Africans to
Yeah.
know exactly what they have, the value of Africa, and
Yeah.
love ourselves. I love it, and I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
It was really. But before we take a leave of you, there's one last question that I want to ask you because there's one other particular key factor that the Westerners they are using towards Africa. That is the media. That's one powerful tool that they use, you know, to like when they come to Africa, they don't go to places where they have skyscrapers, they have people sleeping in, comfortable homes and all of that. They go to the bushes and out of where you have huts and unpleasant structures to show to the media. So Africans in the diaspora, like they are fighting to come back here. They feel like, okay, this is what going on here and this is what going on. So how can we Africans, paint Africa the actual picture of our continent, to that of those who are outside in the media? How can we achieve this as Africans?
Well, see, the thing is that when we keep focus on the outsiders, that's where we fail. Our stories need to be told by us. We need to start evoking a presence in the media, and we have the ability to do it. If you want to take anything from America, go to America and find out how they operate their media and come and bring it back to Africa.
Right.
Wow.
Period. When you do that, what happens is this: you bring the state of the art into the state of the art. Africa is the state of the art.
Mm.
There's nobody in America smarter than Africans. The technology and all of that stuff, yeah, China, and they big up China, but in all reality, some of the most crafty things that have ever been done has been done by Africans.
Right.
So if you utilize that in the right way, the end result is nothing but success. If you're going to go get something from America, go and send students over there to learn their media, bring that media back here as a state and start creating the media that matters. But the thing is that you still can't allow them to tell your story. You still have to tell your own
Our
story.
own story.
Yeah, so let me climax by also just subscribe to what you have said over the last 30 minutes. I remember Robert Mugabe in 1980,
Mm.
when Zimbabwe was having an independence, he invited Bob Marley to grace the occasion. You know what he said? Every man have the right to decide his own destiny. Say every man have the right to decide because in the day of judgment,
Right.
there is no partiality.
There's no
So I
partiality.
subscribe to all of you that Africa have to sell our own story. We have to create our own dream. We have to craft our own path.
Right.
So that Africa, with 51% of human resources, 1.3 billion population, why should we be poor?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're not poor. We're only poor in the mentality.
Mentality.
And that's what needs to change.
Thanks very much. So, Mohammed, you can.
So, viewers, you already know the vibe. It's big, it's bold, beyond the mic. And we had a wonderful conversation. We spoke about Africa and how we can emerge Africa to become one, to achieve the goal of, having one Africa, one currency, and that of one language. So you hear what she said. It all starts with the mind. So when we eradicate the thoughts that we have to go to the Western world before we can become successful or before we can make Africa great again, trust me, we are going to be powerful in the war. We are going to be unstoppable.
Yes.
So if you enjoy watching this episode, make sure to subscribe to my channel, the Q Versus Studio, and also my brother
Out of the box. Please give
podcast.
her a final word to our guests.
To our guest, please.
My final words is if it is to be, it's up to me. That's what I always have to end up
Thank you very much.
So
Out of the box podcast and
Q Virtual Studio. For those of you watching, where can people follow you on social media?
Well, you can go to Dr. Angela Harris on Facebook or Black People United Global Network. On Instagram, you can go to Dr. underscore Angela underscore Harris, or you can go to the Black I Am Awards. If you put in the rebirth of the Black Nation, you put in Black People United, you put in the Black I Am Awards, you put in the Black Kings and Queens Worldwide, you'll see me.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
viewers.